Okay, welcome back to Developing $4. We're taking a look right now at the inside, the guts, what they call the bowels of the water.
No, we don't use that term in water treatment plants, Mark.
Actually, I picked that word on purpose, but okay, bowels is not a good word for water.
Maybe, but
But what are we seeing here? Actually, you know what?
this is really what we're looking at here, Mark.
Yep.
This is the high lift pump station. So when you look at the whole process of treating water from the Lake Simcoe, Kempfelt Bay,
Yep.
it gets pumped from what's called a low lift pump station at the shore.
Okay.
Gets pumped into the plant, and then basically it goes through a treatment train process. So there's a process where sediment is removed from the water.
Okay.
There's also a process where it goes through a series of membranes, and the membranes are really the heart of the treatment process.
Okay.
Membranes are very fine strands of material that really, their pore size is about the diameter of 1/5000th the diameter of a human hair. So they're meant to treat water to a very precise removal rate of 99.999% removal.
Wow. So when you mention, the membranes, if I remember from my grade 5 science, that would be like the osmotic.
I think when you were in grade 5 science, Mark, the technology back then wasn't quite the way it is now.
No, but I remember someone saying osmosis is where plants, is how they suck water, where they go through a membrane and it gets filtered. That's how we get clear water.
That's exactly it. So the smaller the pore diameter, then obviously that limits the amount of material that can actually pass through that pore. So that's how we remove bacteria, viruses, and so forth from the water. It then goes into what's called granular activated carbon, which is really treating the water for taste and odor.
Okay.
And then it goes into basically chlorine contact, and then gets pumped back into the system in terms of the distribution system.
So just for clarity's sake, if I can use that word,
you can always use clarity with water.
Clarity as opposed to the bowels. The water is not necessarily chemically treated. It's just cleaned through a membrane system.
No, there's chemicals at the front end of the process in terms of allowing for sedimentation, which is really starting to get the sediment to come out of the water, and then there's chlorine at the back end of the process as well. We're obligated to put that into a distribution system.
So this building here, and my understanding is today's, it's technically is the grand opening.
Yes.
That someone had to have the foresight, as we discussed, in 1995. So from a development perspective, how many square feet did we have to build, and or what were the
so this is typically we define plants in terms of the cubic meters of water they produce per day. So this plant is capable of producing 60,000 cubic meters of water per day.
60,000. Okay.
That's right, and so that will basically, that was designed in. It can be expanded. It was four phases. It can be expanded, and ultimately it could produce 240,000 cubic meters per day.
When you mention phases, so we can expand up to 4 phases.
So we're in phase 1 right now.
Phase 1.
So we haven't used the capacity yet, because you've got to remember, when the pumps turned on here, we still have the groundwater system. So what we're able to do is to start scaling back the production out of the groundwater system. So that allows for us to preserve the aquifer for a longer period of time.
Right.
And then we can introduce this water into the south end of the city.
Okay, so then from a developer standpoint,
this is a key piece of infrastructure that allows for development.
All right, so we're going to take a quick look at some other components of this. We'll be right back. So Richard, we were discussing very, very quickly about how, from the development perspective, how there's a 4-phase in this water treatment expansion, and we're only using one phase right now. So from a developer's perspective, we have a lot of capacity to grow.
We have the potential to expand, that's correct. And so the plant has been planned and designed so that it can be readily expanded. And so this plant here is state-of-the-art in terms of technology, so in terms of how we treat the water, but there's other elements of the plant that's also that could be of an interest, and that's our green roof technology. So we do have, out here, Mark, for example, we have a green roof that's basically, this green roof is over top of the storage reservoir. And what it does is just, it allows for, obviously we limit the amount of runoff that comes off traditionally off building roofs and so forth, and so that's a benefit to the environment, as well as it allows for heating and cooling, for the plant as well. So it's something that we introduced for this facility, because the City of Barrie has a policy where new facilities are designed to Silver LEED standard, which is important.
Right. So when we mention LEED, so this building is a Silver LEED?
No, it's not. It's not certified as that, but certainly the process in terms of some of the elements that you would typically find,
such as the green roof. So I would say, so my understanding of Lee's, then there is an extra expense to this roof. However, the
long-term benefit in terms of operating is really what you look
Right,
at in terms
right.
of the benefits there. So yeah, there is a bit of a premium for the capital.
and so what are we basically standing
so we're
on right
we're
now?
basically you're at, in the storage reservoirs are under this area here.
So,
So the water that we were just in the high lift pump
Right,
station
right,
area.
right.
So that water would come out of here and then get
so there's two
pushed into the system, right?
two tanks underneath us right
There's
now.
a couple of tanks under here. Yeah.
Wow.
And of course, I mean, when you look at the plant, behind or over here is basically Big Bay Point Road.
Yep.
Behind us is the subdivision, and so
Okay.
the plant has been purposely developed over here so that it can be readily expanded this way without interfering with the residents.
Right, and that's
around it.
kind of like what we want to talk a bit about is that obviously this is in the south end of Barrie, where the extremities of the development exist now. But the plan is of course to move into the new lands coming online.
Not with the plant.
Not with this plant.
No, this plant is going to stay here, but the capability of expanding the tanks and the pumps and so forth has already been basically thought out, and so
Okay.
that when you go to that stage, typically when you go into a plant expansion, there could be a lot of rework and so forth to move things around to facilitate extra pumps and so forth.
Right.
This place has been designed methodically so that it can be readily expanded at very low cost.
And my understanding as well is that this facility also houses the groundwater as well. Staff. So that this is
and the control system that our wells are monitored on, obviously come to this point as well.
Well, being a brand new building, I'm sure that there was a lot of cost, there was a lot of thought, as we mentioned, from 1995. I want to go back into the boardroom and start rolling up our sleeves and take a look at some of the numbers. We'll take a quick break. We'll be right back. Developing $4.